and welcome to part 2 of It's Okay to Suck and Start Again. So I'm really, first and foremost, I'll apologise for this long version of these videos because I haven't I meant to get a lens for this, but I didn't, and I also need an SD card reader so unfortunately, but it's part of the theme of like what I'm doing at the moment. Nothing's perfect, and I want to do this as raw as I can and just document a journey anyway. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't, and that's okay. We'll not worry about it too much anyway. So basically, also I'm not going off a script. I'm not going to be editing these videos. We live in a world, I feel, that has become everything's got to be this and that and the other, and that's not how life goes. Life doesn't, if you make a mess and you do, this is as close as I can get to doing a live on YouTube at the moment because I have very few subscribers. So if you're watching this, I really am truly grateful, and if you've stuck around to this point, let's begin. So last week I spoke about the fact that I was going back to the basics with my learning journey and learning music theory, and basically sort of just starting to get back to I jumped around from genre to genre. I tried different things, and what I realised I was doing was I think like I enjoy making sort of dark hip hop, trip hop, sort of atmospheric kind of music, and I feel like because I wasn't getting a massive pull and a massive crowd on that music when I first started making it, that led me to sort of go a little bit like, oh, well, I'll make a bit of techno-y stuff, or I'll make a bit of drum and bass, or I'll make a bit of this, and trying to be a bit more sort of in the popular. That's not who I am. So that's, if people like my music, that's great, and if they don't, then they don't, and that's how it is. So essentially, today what I'm going to talk about is the fact that, obviously this whole series is called It's Okay to Suck and Start Again, which means, it doesn't matter if especially, I think, like, I don't know what my target audience is for this, to be honest. I think it's everybody. I think for the fact that you've got a lot of young people about to take their end of year, end of school exams. There's a lot of pressure on those people. And I feel like personally I didn't do particularly great at school, and one thing that I've come to one thing that as I've got older, doesn't mean I'm not intelligent. It doesn't mean like tests and exams and it's just a measurement. And like I tell a lot of my young customers in the barbershop that I'm not picking my nose, I'm just it's okay. Like, and that's what I'm trying to carry forth to these sort of videos. I mean, case in point, I've just broke that, which is like a desktop, what you may call it, phone thing. So anyway, so basically, I'm trying not to sort of go off to, I will go off on tangents if I don't sort of stick to it. So basically, a bit of a backstory to who I am and why I've decided to do this is because I myself had a issue with alcohol for 20 years. I struggled. I have failed way more times. I have probably been sacked from more jobs, or fired from more jobs, depending where you're from. Sacked is very British, isn't it? We got sacked, or he got sacked off. But I've been let go from so many jobs. I've probably been let go from more jobs than a lot of people will ever have in their life. I've also walked out of a lot of jobs. I've also gone off and done, after 13 years of unisex hairdressing, I went off and decided I was going to go and work on a building site. And I was 28 at the time, and I decided to be a labourer. And I'd never done manual labour. It was by far some of the hardest work. But that in 2011, that was a massive turning point in my life, and I realised that something doesn't matter as if you've got the right attitude and you stay consistently doing something. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't perfect, and this is what I'm trying to sort of get over to you is as much as this is about me making music and a music journey, it's also the fact that, you know, I want to inspire other people to try and do other things with their lives, and this is what I'm sort of saying. It's like it's okay to suck and start again. So that is the, you know, sort of like setting the table a little bit there for you. I will obviously sort of like try it, and some people will find this kind of format quite annoying. Um, but again, you know, I'm not gonna overly edit videos. This is who I am. This is what you know, and it is the theme of the whole series, if you like, that, you know. And I feel like it would be a bit of a, it would kind of be a little bit like unauthentic if I started editing out the videos and stuff like that. And we are going to get to a point where I will be making music in during these videos and stuff like that. But at the moment, I'm, you know, I'm aware that I'm probably going to get very few views. And this is the other side of the coin. You know, I've been making content now for like on various platforms for years. You know, I've tried different, and I feel like, again, I need to take a pinch of my own advice about consistency. And I do jump from one thing to the next. You know, but YouTube is an amazing tool, and I wish we'd have had this when I was young, because I've always wanted to be a musician. I've always wanted to play music. I started learning the guitar during, you know, the dark days of 2020 and, you know, and 21, when we weren't allowed to go to work. I wasn't allowed to go to work because I was a barber. But during that time, I had to find different things to do. So what I, you know, ultimately did was I did whatever I could do. And again, you know, at that point, I'd moved to Belfast in Northern Ireland. I had become an ambassador for a scissor company. I had conversations with another company about potentially becoming an ambassador for a men's hairdressing product company. I was starting to teach in college, and just before the, you know, C19 era, I thought I'd mapped it all out, and obviously that wasn't the case. It actually, you know, but I'm not going to sit here and cry and whinge and moan about what happened during the C19 era, because I probably wouldn't be here doing these videos, because something amazing happened during in fact, a lot of amazing things happened during this time for me. I got a load of time to do the things that I've always wanted to do. So I got loads of time to learn how to play the guitar. I got loads of time to, you know, I landscaped our back garden, you know, like where I was living. I set up like a makeshift gym in the garden, and you know, I actually just developed loads of hobbies during the you know, I can't say that word because I think, you know, I don't know if you can or you can't, but I don't want to risk it. So during that time, obviously, I I got loads of time. I started an access course and went on to do. I've been doing a psychology degree since then. Um, I found loads of things out about myself that I didn't know. But one thing that I realised was I run away. I was, you know, I couldn't run away. I had to face things, and I had to face myself in the mirror. And sometimes this is something that I've learned through my psychology degree is, you know, like I did developmental psychology, which is, you know, basically early years psychology, because I feel like if you understand what happened in your childhood better, you can kind of prepare the future a little bit better, and doing a psychology degree has been massively helpful. I've had some very serious conversations in my own head with myself. I've gone a lot of soul searching, I've gone into myself quite a lot. I've understood that a lot of what's happened in my life has been my own fault, and I've taken accountability for a lot of the things I've lost friends along the way, but again, you know, I've through my alcohol problem, I obviously sort of destroyed a lot of good opportunities. I destroyed a lot of friendships. I destroyed a lot of, you know, romantic relationships. I've been single for a long time because I've just basically had to start from ground zero. And that is my overall sort of message, you know, it like, but I've got stronger and stronger. Like when I first sort of, you know, when I first embarked on my self-discovery version, like, you know, and basically my um, self-improvement journey and self-development journey, I, I realised that, you know, I couldn't be with somebody else. You can't fix yourself within somebody else. And it's great if you've got somebody, you know, but I realised that I'd kind of tried to fix myself within others. So obviously I'm sort of bearing my soul a little bit, but I just want you to get to know why, you know, the reason that I'm doing this, and why I feel almost qualified to help other people moving forward. And you know, like I say, the niche of this overall thing isn't about me counselling people or telling people what to do. If anything, it's just basically setting an example of somebody who made some massive errors, some really big, humongously bad life decisions, and did some not very good things to people in the past. Maybe I maybe was, you know, like I think sometimes you can be the villain, and sometimes, but in your own story, you know, our memories have this issue, you know, ability to sort of resurface our um, responsibility and our, you know, the part that we, the roles that we played throughout these situations. But I'm not perfect, and that's exactly what, you know, I'm trying to sort of get across, is like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm happy with who I am, and the fact that, like, I'm not the complete article yet. I'm not the person I fully want to be. I've got, you know, I've even had a bit of a weird start to the year when it comes to sort of the fact that I got kicked off my degree, you know, at the beginning of the year, so I've got to go back in October because I didn't sort my student finance out, you know, and like, I don't have a fancy studio around me or all the fancy equipment. I have ordered a new phone, like I've just said. I will get bits and bats that will make the quality of the content better in a way, but like, I'm not going to sit there for hours editing things and stuff like that. You know, I feel like I'll probably sort of write prompts down because I can get a little bit lost on my, you know, like, but I won't be working to a script. I'm not gonna sit there on ChatGPT and get to write a script about who I am and what I'm doing. So essentially, you know, what I want to sort of try and do is maybe get a video out at the beginning of the week, one at the end of the week, and just basically sort of get to know people along the way. So what would be amazing if you could subscribe and you could hit like and you could, you know, maybe share the video. But if you can't do that, then I hope that, you know, you find some form of something that inspires you inside, you know. And like I say, the chance of me going massively viral and things like that is, you know, it's one in a million, isn't it? You know, some people get really, but like, I feel like we live in a world where everyone's trying to get, you know, viral and clout and stuff like that. And if I can just inspire a handful of people who then go on to inspire a handful of people who then go on to inspire a handful of people, then eventually this whole thing sort of reaches out. And that's the sort of like thing that I would most like. And like I say, you know, this isn't just about sort of like my life story. We are going to be creating things and making music along the way. And eventually, you know, if I get enough subscribers and stuff like that, and I get to a point where I can do lives and stuff like that, then that will be much better. But for now, it's just literally a case of, you know, keeping these videos relatively short, you know, trying to sort of aim for like under 20 minutes and just see where we go with it. You know what I mean? It's nothing. It's basically a little bit of a vlog for me, and you can see where you know, see the progress, and I can see the progress, and I can look back in a year's time and go, God, I was talking absolute nonsense. I could look back in 5 years' time and think, you know, God, that's where I was, you know. So just a little sort of another, you know, little bit of a insight to what's going to be going on, and you know, the fact that again, I'm just reinforcing the fact that it's okay to start again. It's okay to fail. Failure is not a dirty word. Failure is part of the process of self-development, and we're all able to fall down. It's a case of, can we get back up when we do? Can we make ourselves, you know, like not worrying about what other people think too much, and sort of just, you know, it's okay to be you. That's okay. That's fine. Don't worry. There's not another version of you. Just be the best version of yourself instead of a, you know, mock version of somebody else. I'm going to leave you on that thought anyway. So thank you very much if you have watched to this point. Like I say, if you could subscribe, that would be amazing. If not, then it is what it is. But thank you very much if you have watched to this point. I really do appreciate you. Have a lovely week, and I will hopefully have another video out for you. Maybe midweek, maybe Friday. I don't know. We'll see how we go. See how I feel tomorrow. Toodle pip, toodaloo. Goodbye. Thank you very much.